Hello, it's Scott Manley here, and today I want to talk about food that went to space and came back because there was a news story about a company called Space Roasters, which are a pair of space scientists who apparently want to roast coffee in space. Now, the way it was pitched, certainly in the early magazine articles, is they want to use the heat of re-entry to do this. But equally, they talk about how regular earthbound coffee roasting has this potential problem where you have to stir the beans, and if they don't get moved, then they can sit on the hot spot for too long and get burned. Because coffee roasting takes about 10, 15 minutes thereabouts. I could be wrong on this, but first of all, you've got to dry the beans down. They start out green, they dry, they become kind of yellowish brown, and then after that, the heating continues. And that's when you get the whole like Maillard reaction happening, which is when you apply heat to any food, the proteins and the sugars and all that, they all react to create this soup of interesting organic chemicals that give the flavors to the food. So roasting coffee at different temperatures, different durations, really is a large part of bringing out the flavor of it. But so yeah, the idea being that they would do this in zero G would mean that you would have an oven or something where the beans were just floating around in it. And the problem with this is that they talk about doing it with the heat of re-entry. Well, guess what? During steep re-entry, you're not in microgravity anymore. By the time you're performing re-entry and getting heat fluxes high enough to heat your oven up, you are no longer in zero G. It is actually possible to get very, very low decelerations and still get relatively high heat fluxes. If you put your spacecraft into like a grazing low Earth orbit, say about 110 kilometers, then, I did a test in Realism Overhaul Kerbal Space Program, and I was able to get heat fluxes of 30, 40, 50 kilowatts and accelerations of 0.01 G. So that is microgravity. You would just need a bit of an air current to still stir things up. But I think more likely what will happen with this proposal is that they will go with suborbital launches. They've talked about working with Blue Origin or Rocket Lab. I think suborbital is the way that makes sense. They will boost it up and it will just have an onboard heat source so that they're doing the drying and they're doing the roasting, and then it comes back down and it decelerates and they say, look, we roasted coffee with the re-entry heat. It's like, it's way simpler for them to just carry its own heat source and use a standard ablative heat shield. And I'm willing to bet that if this does happen, and I am very skeptical that that's what they will actually do. Now, the cost for this obviously is going to be expensive, and I believe they've been quoted as saying 50 to 100 euros for a cup of coffee. I'm not going to pay that, but I'm sure somebody might like the idea of a cup of coffee that's been to space. And, I think, obviously I like my space beer, which is worth talking about right now. So these bottles of beer, you may have noticed, they are Ground Control by Ninkasi Brewing of Eugene, Oregon. Ninkasi, by the way, is the Sumerian goddess of beer, and she clearly has blessed the world because we have something like 8,000 small breweries now in America. It's been a long time since the myth that America has bad beer has actually had any truth to it. But yeah, they made these, and this is another one. This is the 2017 edition. Every year they change the recipe up, and the reason that this qualifies as space beer is because they launched the yeast on a sounding rocket. They went up above the Kármán line, and then the yeast came back down. And then that became their batch that they grew subsequent batches of yeast from. Because the great thing about yeast is it just kind of keeps growing and you just keep a sample around. So they made 3 generations of this. They didn't make one last year, so I'm really interested in what's happening with it. And I really would like to try and get more because I love these beers. You guys make great stuff. I also saw that they've got a heart and science beer. And I was like, that is so my kind of thing. So other space food that I can think of. You know that like the Smithsonian actually has in its archives food that flew on Apollo 11? It probably has it from the other Apollos, but can you imagine that the museum is curating various items which were basically Buzz Aldrin didn't feel like eating? It's very strange. Yeah, most of the Apollo missions ended up bringing food home because obviously back then the food technology wasn't quite as palatable as it is today, and with the shorter trips, you probably end up with a lot less. It's a lot easier to skip meals. Yeah, there's like a packet of pecans I remember seeing that they didn't like. They didn't want to eat. Of course, none of that food got ate after, but Soyuz crews sometimes ended up going off course when they were landing, and they ended up having to spend the night in the capsule. And those guys did actually eat food after that had been flown in space, so that's kind of an interesting first. But perhaps the coolest, weirdest, funnest bit of food that's been flown in space and returned is the SpaceX wheel of cheese. The very first Dragon capsule obviously needed a bit of a, they decided they wanted to put a mass simulator in there that would truly reflect SpaceX's spirit and corporate culture. And so, because Elon Musk likes Monty Python, they put a giant wheel of cheese in there. They put it in a big sealed, metal container, and they put a lid on it. It was totally covered up, and the label said top secret, and actually had an image of a cow wearing rubber boots from the movie Top Secret. It was kept so secret that Elon didn't even talk about it during the post-flight press conference because he didn't want the fact that they were the first private company to fly a capsule in space to be overshadowed by the fact that they had decided to make a reference to a Monty Python sketch. And that's quite interesting given how much Elon Musk loves to drop these jokes these days. But as far as I can tell, this cheesy, heroic pioneer never made it to anybody's kitchen table. And when I was at SpaceX a few years ago, I think it was still on display. Truthfully, I was more interested in looking at the rocket parts, but I think I remember somebody pointing out that there was a cheese over there. Meanwhile, rockets. Yeah, you know what I was wanting to look at. Anyway, whatever it is, that display case has to be very well sealed because nobody really likes the smell of rotting cheese. They do like the smell of roasting coffee, and as I understand it, Space Roasters, their very flashy looking website, does seem to imply that they will be selling access in about 4 weeks or so. Certainly, I'm fascinated to see what they actually do and how their plan resolves from being what they've pitched to what they actually deliver. But I don't think I'm willing to pay $50 for a cup of coffee, even if it does come from stuff that's flown in space. I'm Scott Manley. Fly safe.